Chapter 7. How to create engaging social content. We've talked about creating different types of content for different platforms. But what should you keep in mind while creating this content? There are a few easy ways to get the attention of your audience without having to invest too much time or effort. Let's look at some templates that will get your brand the engagement that you are looking for. Ask a question. The simplest form of a call to action is to ask a question. Even better if you can provoke some thought through it. What do you do when you are trying to be conversational? How are you today? Is a pretty good conversation starter in real life. But that's not going to get anyone's attention on social media unless it has a really interesting context. For instance, if you're talking about health drinks, one idea is to sell it as an alternative to soft drinks, right? So, that's your cue. Pepsi or Coke? Nah. What about? You can even suggest an answer to nudge them towards your brand if you are not a well-established name in the industry. What you need to do essentially is to get people thinking about your product or service. The idea is to ask them for their opinion because, well, everyone has one and people like giving their 2 bits on social media. In fact, a lot of people think that's the perfect place for it. What you must do is cash in on this facet of their personality. You can do a poll on Facebook or Twitter and get them to engage with your posts. You can give them a quiz and challenge their knowledge on a subject. That way, they also learn something. You can ask them to write an email and post the ID at the end of the post. It is not likely to get too many responses, but some people really do take the time. This also makes them click through. You can use that opportunity to gather their information and send newsletters and surveys to their email ID. And while you're at it, make it personal. Say, "Write to me," instead of, "Write to us." This is a great play. Sometimes you don't even have to come up with clever lines. Forums like Quora and Reddit are great places to conduct these kinds of informal research. You can also do this in the form of blog posts and live streams. Get the community to interact and give their opinions. Interact with them live and keep their interest in the chat. Humanize your content. Billions of users are on any given social media platform every month. This has turned social media into a great place to share human interest stories. People are always looking for positive, uplifting stories. When it comes to sharing stories about your product or service, going with human interest hardly ever fails. It's a good story and one that everyone wants to hear. Tell them stories about your team members and what they consider to be a win. Usually, this is built around making a customer happy. Also, use the moment to tell them how your product or service bridges the gap between the other existing products and the problems customers are having with said products. You don't have to point fingers at anyone in particular. Just highlight the problem and the solution you are offering. That's it. And at the end of the day, remember this simple little detail. If a brand is trying to sell them something, people don't really want to know unless they are loyal to that tag. If a brand is trying to do the same with good graphics and videos, some are willing to pay attention to it. But when a brand is telling a good and personal story, a lot of people will give it their time and attention. And soon, hopefully, their money too. When it comes to business social media outreach, you need to focus on useful information. Just make sure it is not dull and matches the vibe of the platform. Use pictures, videos and statistics to draw the crowd depending on the platform you are using to reach them. The right way of doing this is to spend about 10% of your content on these kinds of stories. You can take it up or down depending on your audience and the brand reputation you have created for yourself. You can also do this as a one-off for certain campaigns when you decide to change your tone. Monitor audience behavior. Then it is time to keep an eye out for the response. This is not just to understand the impact of your existing posts but also to learn what works so that you can plan your future strategy. This, of course, is more applicable to brands that have been in the social media game for a while. All social media platforms give you analytics that tell you a lot of specific things about user behavior. And we know by now that quite easily, people engage more with visual posts. Anything with pictures and videos gets a second look compared to those text posts. On Facebook, for instance, you can check this by going into your page insights, clicking on Posts, and then checking Post Types. Be a good listener. Monitoring discussions using your target keywords and tags of topics on online forums is an extremely important part of understanding what your existing and potential customers want from you. This is helpful not just with your content but also with the stuff that your competition is pushing out. See how the customer base is responding to their posts and learn whatever you can from it.